Hi there, everyone. It's Brad Gilbert here. Now, one of the key parts that I want to get you all prepared for is your daily routine. Now, coming out of that five-part series on how do the bankers trade Forex, one of the key things is the actual routine that they go through each day. It's extremely methodical, systematic, same process, same analysis, everything's in line, right? And this is where you need to come back to. If you want to become a professional trader, and that means get professional trading results, right? Make a lot of money. Well, adopt some of the systems that we use to make trading easier. Now, this is like anything, right? Remember the old days, put it this way, go back to watching TV when I was a kid, okay, in the 70s, you change the channel, you had to get up and change the channel. So rarely did you ever change the channel. You watched the same station because you couldn't be bothered getting up and changing the channel. Anything that you do that's not easy, you will not do more than a couple of times, I can tell you, with anything that you do. So it's even more important that a revenue source, a lifestyle change like trading, you need to make it as easy as possible. Now, one of the key things, now I'm not going to suggest you go and buy a heap of different things, and I rarely do promote anything on the site, except for Reuters Zenith, right? Now, this is a major program, and why I sort of promote it is it's the best value product on the market. It's exactly what the bankers have, and you can set up your whole routine with a number of templates. And that's exactly what I want to do. So this webinar, what I want to do is just take you through my daily routine, okay? And really show you where I get and how I get the information, I should say, and where I get the market insight from, right, that I publish each day, and how I do that daily analysis. And by showing you, right, you can easily click on the link on the page with to get Reuters Zenith. It's $99 a month, okay? The first 3 months, I think you pay for one, you get access to three. So this is a product that you need to at least try. If you are thinking of doing this full time, then it's an absolute no-brainer. And you'll understand why when I start taking you through the back-end platform. And as I said, this is my routine. This is the routine that I was trained by senior traders, 20, 30 years ago, 27 years ago, and that I was training guys, 10 years ago. This is the same routine, and it's made simple through Reuters Zenith because I can actually go through every aspect of the market. This is your connection to the market, right? So first and foremost, what's the first part of your routine each day? Well, I would say turn your systems on, turn your trading platform on. Now that's good for trading, but what about all the information you need? Technicals, fundamentals, central banks, everything else that is the essence of your whole trading decisions comes from the market, and that's where that Reuters product fits in. So sit back, let me just take you through the routine that I go through, and then you can actually come back, watch this video over and over, and actually piece together your actual routine as well. Now, the good thing is, as I said, if you download or subscribe to the Reuters product, then we'll actually add all these templates into either this article or on the website there somewhere, and you can actually download them, set them up, so then you can feel confident that you're looking at the markets the same way I am, and actually with the exact same templates. Right? This is going to be a great feature and really fine-tune not only your analysis, but your trade execution and trading decision process. All right, let me get to Reuters, and I'll run you through the whole profile. When I come back to the markets after I've been away for half a day, or particularly overnight, if I haven't actually seen what's going on, the first thing I want to do is actually check out where they are. And the easiest way to do that, right, is actually looking at the charts. Now, if you go to your MT4 platform and just scroll down the currencies on the left-hand side, it's not really good enough because you can see where the numbers are, but visually here, you can see if there's been any major activity across any of the currencies. Okay, and at a glance, you can see if the majors are correlating. You can see if there's been an explosive move in one pair or all pairs have moved and all those sorts of things. So the first thing you do is check where the majors are, check where the currencies are, right? Then you can have a look and you can start to see, for instance, Euro has popped above 1.1867. Right? I want to find out some answers for that. So generally, the next thing I do, so the first part is I've got the template here set up as majors. Right, that's the first thing that always comes up. Every time I log back on, this is the page I go to. If there has been any activity, I will then go to the news page and find out what happened on that particular pair that moved. Okay. Now, the good thing about Reuters and Bloomberg for that matter is they just report the news. There's no opinion bias in there. And that's the good thing about this. It's unlike the general news that you'll see on the TV. So here, there's not much going on in the Asian session, okay? But what we did see first and foremost this morning was, okay, we had some GDP figures out of New Zealand and it spiked higher. So I can come back over here, have a look, dollar yen steady, South Korea, I'm not really worried about. China's one, not worried about. New Zealand dollar flirts with 2-month peak after GDP, right? So I can go in there and just have a read there about what's going on, all right? So that's one of the key things. I can also, of course, come in and actually see the data, and you'll see very clearly that the GDP numbers were stronger, and that led to the spike higher. Okay, but just stay with me on this one. So first of all, you come into the majors template, see where the major currencies are. And then there you can also refresh your technical analysis at the same time if you like, or you can come back to it. Mainly the first thing I do is have a look to see what's happened, see which currencies have moved or if they haven't, then come into the news and I'll actually sort of look for, I'm looking just at market news here on foreign exchange, is what has actually gone through the market if there's any particular news. Now, if there's nothing going on, right, say that like at the moment, a lot of the currencies aren't doing too much, well, they will just regurgitate the same old stuff. So if there's nothing really going on, you don't need to go looking for it so much. All right. Now, so I've seen where the currencies are. I can now find out what has been happening and why they've been moving. Now I'll come back and sort of really focus in on the technical aspects, starting to look at the key entry levels and also looking at it across different time zones. Now I've got the hourly chart here on the left-hand side. On the top right, I've got the daily chart, the bottom left, the weekly, and the bottom right, the monthly. Now, the idea of doing this is, okay, the left-hand side is what all the traders are looking at all the time. But you can get caught up in the noise around short-term trading activity, right? And this is where you'll do most of your trading from, the short-term, the 1 hour chart. Absolutely, that's the one you look for. But what you want to see is if any of that short-term trading activity is actually having changing trends on a long-term basis, right? That's the best thing about this page. Having 4 different time frames enables you to come in very quickly and have a look across the board and see what's going on short-term and long-term. Because sometimes those long-term breaks can sneak up on you, and if you aren't looking at them all the time, you can miss a long-term daily trendline break, which is potentially a big change in trend, and that's where you get the bigger moves, and you want to get those as quick as you can, right? So you'll notice with this page, right, most of you should have actually seen this before. All right, so for instance, I come over here and I'll systematically go through the major currencies, you know, adjusting my short-term trend lines on the hourlies, and you'll find that the daily, weekly, and monthly charts, you're rarely changing those trend lines. Now, this should look familiar to you, okay, and I can drag over the website. This is where I get the daily analysis from, okay? Funnily enough, here's the chart, right? So once I've gone through the major pairs themselves, once I've seen where the currencies are and I know what's been forcing the currencies around, what's been the fundamental drivers, then I come back into the currencies and fine-tune my technicals, right? And this is where I get the daily analysis from for each of the major currencies. And I systematically go through these to give you the daily analysis each day. But you can do this and get ahead of the curve using these templates, right? So this template is called text, and this is these documents here, unlike the majors page, these charts are all called apps in the Reuters Zenith. The text, these are called flex documents, okay, just so you know what you're looking for. If you download the templates, you won't have to sort of worry about building them all. They'll all be a part of it. But so you can actually see exactly how methodical this is. Right, so I know where the majors are. I know what's driving, the fundamental drivers are. I've fine-tuned my entry levels and if there's any change in trends. Now it's time to go into the market and find out, micro-manage each currency pair. Now at the top here, the first one I've got, and this is before I come to the economic numbers, I really want to check out what's going on with the US dollar. The US dollar is the central force for all financial markets. So it's very important you can isolate the dollar through the dollar index. And then on the right-hand side here, I've got 4 charts. These are the major currencies like dollar Swiss, dollar yen, dollar CAD, and then I've also got euro in there as well, because I want to see what the dollar's doing, okay, as the base currency, and then also throwing in euro, which is the biggest pair or the biggest percentage, 58% of that dollar index. So I want to see what that's doing as well. So you can see what the dollar's doing on the left-hand side here, the dollar index. That gives you the raw dollar move, okay? And then I can actually go and see what it's doing against the major pairs as well, right? I can also see what's going on with the data here. I've isolated all the US numbers, right? So when I look at the dollar, all I want to do is focus on the US numbers and go from there. All right. Now I do have the news here. This is major news, so I can actually see what's going on, anything related to the dollar or major FX news as well. And then over on the right-hand side, I have the equity markets, because I always like to see the equity markets come in and out of favor, I should say, with the various news networks. So occasionally, equities do impact the currencies. And that's why I like to see what's happening with the equity markets, especially around interest rates, right? They cut interest rates, equities go up, and we should see the dollar lower. So, but there's a bit of a relationship that's going to make it easier for you to build understanding and knowledge around the connection between the various markets as well, equity markets versus the currencies, and how it all impacts across the board. Right, so I'm going to keep going through this and methodically build this routine. Right, so we know where the currencies are. We've come through, found out where all the fundamental drivers are coming from. I've gone through, isolated the major technical levels. Okay, you go across and do all the major currency pairs, make sure you fine tune all of them. Then we can come in and say, isolate the US dollar and see if it's got a specific direction for us. Okay, once again, if I come back to the major currencies, you'll see I've got the US dollar here first and foremost. Okay, this is where and you'll see here at the top, I actually have a very similar format for my overall analysis, right? So the way I do it is methodical, and this is the way I publish it on the site. Actually, let me just come back. While I'm going through the templates and the daily routine for that matter, let me just sort of walk you through this on the Market Insight, because you'll see the way I'm actually taking you through my Reuters templates, it's exactly the same way that I look at the currencies each day and report it to you through the Market Insight. And I think it's very important you understand how I formulate that Market Insight. So markets unfazed by US tax bill, and the focus turns to Canadian CPI. So it's a bit of a coverage of what happened yesterday and where the focus is today. So what I like to do is give you a bit of a quick recap of what happened yesterday, because once again, when you're looking at the major pairs, you need to be able to see exactly what's going on. So a bit of a rundown there, whether it's the US dollar is usually the major focus. If there's something happen on euro, sterling, or the other currencies, I'll mention it in there as well. Then I come through and I give you the run through where the major currencies are. Right now, I'm not particularly at this point looking at the key levels, but I'm sort of showing you, okay, Aussie is going higher. Kiwi has spiked up to like 70.15. Dollar yen slowly edging towards resistance level up around 113.50. Euro slightly higher. Sterling's trading sideways, and so is dollar CAD. Now, what's the plan for today? Right, now this is exactly where we're up to on the templates. Because what I'll do is I come over here to the economic calendar, right? So when you're planning, so the first part of your routine is looking at the history, what they've done, why they're there, the key levels, okay, find out what the dollar's doing. Now you can come in and start planning your day, going, okay, now what do I need to really pay attention on? And when we say that, why do we look at the economic data? Well, these are the key fundamental drivers of the market. Why? Because this is what the central banks look at to determine future interest rate moves. Okay? If they have a change in sentiment, it's because the data has changed. So we watch the data almost like pretending we work at the central bank and we have to adjust policy around these numbers. Now, obviously, there's a whole heap of them that are high impacting. Okay, they're the ones with 3 bars. Then there's medium impacting and the ones with 1 bar. Let me just highlight those. So they're the low impacting numbers. Now, why have they got various levels of impact? Well, the core fundamental numbers like the CPI, GDP, they are the core numbers historically that the central banks have looked at. We would call them tier 1 numbers, right? The tier 1 numbers, you only need a small amount of variance to get the currency moving. And this is what you have to really understand with the fundamental numbers. A tier 2 number, right? So it's only got 2 bars there. That means it's important, but not hugely important. Now, this can actually have a major impact But because it's a tier 2 data, we need bigger variance to get the same move from that top tier data with a small number. Then when you come into the very low impacting numbers, like the tier 3 numbers, they can still impact, but you need a really big variance to get the currency moving. Okay, so understand that. High impacting numbers, small amount of variance gets a big move. Okay, so if that same amount of small variance was on a tier 2, you get hardly a move. Tier 3 data, small variance, you get probably doesn't even move at all. Right, but understand that. And we're going to set something up on the site shortly with the fundamental numbers and the central banks to really guide you through that. But let me just come back to the routine, right? This is where you can plan your day. And this is where you can really isolate when you need to be in front of the screens. Now, just these economic numbers, right? Don't get confused. We don't just sit down and trade every economic number, right? If the GDP numbers here, I'll get the final GDP numbers. Okay, the final number, there usually isn't a lot of variance. So what I would do is, and this is one thing that you should be doing, you can say, okay, we've got the US dollar here. This is the number. Because it's a US dollar number, it's going to impact all the major currencies. So then you can come back and isolate the key levels and say, well, if this US number is weak, these majors should rally, right? Then you can start isolating the levels. Aussie's got a close resistance level, so is Kiwi, dollar yen on the top side, but it's a dollar number. Weak numbers, dollar yen's going to come off. So that's maybe not a trade. Euro has danced through a level here. Maybe there's a trade on the downside. So if the numbers are strong, right, then Euro is probably a better trade than Aussie because Aussie's going to travel 40 points down before it gets to that level. By the time it travels 40 points lower, could get a bit sticky there. The trade might be over. Whereas Euro, it dips 10 points. We're already through the level. Okay, so this is the way that you can plan your day, right? So if you're in the Asian session here, there's not much to do. The BOJ's had their rate decision. Now, there's nothing out in Europe until the US session. So, you know what would I do? I wouldn't even actually waste my time looking at the screens during the European session. If I am in Europe, I would update my charts and go through the same process and see if there's any technical levels. Because one thing is, if you've gone through the course, you'll know that if there is any major, if there's no economic numbers, right, well, there could be a good range trading opportunity. And that's another thing to sort of isolate for your strategy. So just think of this. So you're looking through the planning your day, high impacting numbers first and foremost, isolate those. What session are they in and what currencies could it impact? If it's a US number, it could impact them all. Have a good look through the majors. If there's no European numbers here, you're probably going straight back to your chart and have a look at the major currencies in Europe, Euro, Sterling, Dollar Swiss, and think, well, you know what? There's nothing really coming out of Europe. There's a pretty good chance we could get a range trade here. And you should be looking for that opportunity, especially if there's a clear levels. Like Sterling has support and resistance. If anything here on Euro, I would be looking to play the range, and that would be getting long, looking for it to rally higher, because that's the way the range is at the moment, or the short-term trend. All right, so we've come into the economic numbers, and that's, as I said, you scroll through that, and you can plan well ahead. For instance, the major focus for me today is the Canadian inflation and retail sales figures. These are two big numbers, especially the inflation numbers. So I can plan my day here, and which I have done on the Market Insight. Okay, so I've gone through here. I've given you a bit of a heads up here what to look for. Most important, Canadian CPI data, right? There's a snapshot of the economic fundamentals. So if you don't have Reuters, for instance, you can actually come to our website, go through the Market Insight, and now you'll know exactly what I'm showing you. So you go through here, you can isolate the key releases that suit you, that are either in a trading time zone that you can manage to trade, and then you can come down and focus. Now, the bottom part of the Market Insight is what I've just been doing. I look at the economic numbers, right? Then I look at back to the charts. I look for what impacting numbers are coming out, what chart has a good setup. Now, in this situation, today's focus, okay, the Canadian CPI numbers, okay, they're the top tier number, very important to the Bank of Canada and future policy decisions, and dollar CAD is just trading sideways. So we've got support and resistance, okay, and we've got two key fundamental drivers coming out. Now, what we're looking for is if these two numbers line up, so they're both strong or they're both negative, then we're going to get a really good move in dollar CAD. Now, if one is strong and one is weak, and we do have some US jobless numbers coming out there as well, then they're going to offset each other. Okay, so that's exactly the process I go through for the market insight. Now, once you've come back through, right, so that's a general synopsis of the routine. Looking where the majors are, go and find the answers in the news, why they are where they are, then come back, fine tune your technical levels, okay, short term and long term, then focus on what the dollar's doing. See if you can isolate specific direction in the dollar. The main reason I do that is because if we've got specific direction on the US dollar, trading is very easy for all of the majors. Trading becomes harder when the US dollar really doesn't have a heartbeat, right? Because it's just inconsistent. And this is what you get at the moment is you get weird moves in the currencies, like say Kiwi going up, Aussie still, Euro higher, Sterling lower. These four major currency pairs here, Aussie, Kiwi, Sterling and Euro, should all be moving in the same direction. And it would be if the US dollar had specific clear direction. And this is another thing for you to look at and go, well, you know what are trading conditions like today? Well, the four majors, you know, and actually these four should be going the same direction. Dollar yen and dollar CAD should be going the opposite direction because the US dollar is the base on those two. Over on these other four currencies, it's the terms currency, right? So it's the second currency of the quote. So with that, if these six charts all react the same, the US dollar is doing the same thing on all of them, well, then that's a good thing. That's really good trading conditions, right? So say, for instance, I've looked at the economic numbers here, okay, and I'm looking at the CAD, right? So what I've done from here, I want to isolate the Canadian dollar. So I have all the currencies here, so I can actually go in and micromanage all of them, right? If there was an Aussie dollar opportunity, I would go into the Aussie. I've got the key Aussie dollar crosses here as well, okay, and the key Aussie data. Now, there's nothing coming out on the Aussie, but what I'm showing you is how simple it is to trade and get yourself set up when these templates do the hard work for you. They show you the crosses, they show you the major, the real-time economic news, and the breaking news at the top there as well. So say, for instance, the CAD. The CAD's the major data. Well, I'll already have this template fine-tuned. So when the economic data release is due to come out, the inflation numbers, I will have this page up in front of me, right? I can see where the numbers are very clearly. I can see the chart at the same time and the major crosses for that matter, the Canadian crosses. Okay, I've got oil, I've got CAD yen, and I've got Euro CAD all ready to go, right? This makes it very easy for me and very compulsive to turn the screens on because I don't have to go wondering what's happening. I just get these templates up and go for it. Okay, so once you've done your daily routine, okay, so your majors, your news, you've gone through and checked out your key levels, you know what's happening on the dollar, you've checked out the economic calendar to see if there's any high impacting numbers that could change momentum on all the currencies if it's US dollar news, or on specific currencies if it's isolated news like Canadian data, Aussie data, Euro data, okay? And then if I do see something like that, well, then I can go through and click on my templates, right, for each currency pair and isolate those best trading opportunities. And this is for all of the 8 major currencies themselves, okay? And you want to sort of make sure you do this and go through this methodically. Okay, so when you come back to your screens, as I said, this is your routine. Check like these first 5 templates are the basis of your daily routine when you come back to the screens. And this is why I suggest, and I can't recommend highly enough, this product. As I said, it's only $99 a month, right? You get this up, you are connected to the market. Now, when you join the 247 trade zone, all of a sudden you are looking at the market exactly the same way I am, which is exactly the same way as the bankers. What happens? Invariably, you're trading with the market, right? This is the whole nuts and bolts of the whole course. This is all the support, all the information I give you comes from here. Of course, there's a whole, there's 27 years of sort of trading experience in there as well, which is fine tuning and answering your questions around this. But if you actually have this product up, you can ask specific questions and you'll be building your knowledge like it tangibly. You'll be able to feel how much more information you have than how much more of an independent trader you are. And the best thing is, right, we've got our funded trader program launching. We want our traders to think independently. We want to train you and then get you to think around outside the square, but using the foundations. This is what traders do. They have all these key things in here, right? Have the key technicals, fundamentals, your connection to the market, and then you can start to build on this. And what we're talking about is probability enhancers, right? And this is where we start to focus in on also getting some more understanding around the central banks. Like this template here, I've shown a couple of people. I think it's amazing, and it probably is, because it gives you a snapshot of where the rates are, inflation, inflation targets, actual inflation. You can actually see when these central banks have to change rates or change sentiment, right? And I can simply expand each of these areas, so I can actually fine tune what is actually happening with each central bank, right? This is a great way to build the knowledge and your experience, get ahead of the market. Okay, you will no longer be reliant on, say, FX Street, Daily FX. This is the information you need, right? As I said, this is your routine. And this is how you're going to isolate the low risk, high probability opportunities. Is quite easy. Find out what's happened on the currencies, okay? If they moved, find out. You need to know why, right? It's very important you know why, because if that news changes, right, you'll know what to do. You'll know to trade the opposite way. But if you don't know what the news was that drove it up, you can't trade the way back down, because you don't know what news has impacted in the past. That's why it's very important you know. It's obviously very important to see what's happening short term and long term. Then focus on the dollar. I said once again, you will make a lot of money when the US dollar has specific direction. That's why this page is so important. Then you can isolate, plan your day around the high impacting data releases, right? These are the core fundamental drivers that the central banks focus on to make their interest rate decisions, okay, monetary policy. That's why we focus on them very, very closely, and that's why they move the market, especially those high impacting ones. So make sure you get up the curve on that and know where it fits in. Okay, and then once again, go through, once you see a very good trading opportunity here, say economic data wise, match the technicals with the data, then fine tune, micromanage the opportunity, go into each of your templates for each major currency pair and isolate that event, and it will make trading easier for you. I didn't actually explain to you here. I've got a template here just for Europe, which is I've got euro, sterling, dollar Swiss, euro Swiss. Okay, so if I want to see anything that's happening in Europe, I look at that page for a bit of a snapshot of Europe. But if I want to focus right on euro and the euro crosses, I'll go to the euro page, right? And same for sterling, and then also the Swiss, and also dollar CAD, right? Can you start to see now how easy it is to really fine tune those opportunities? The yen crosses, right? These are like, it's exactly the same as my majors chart, just the yen crosses, because this is what the Japanese traders focus on. They don't look so much at the majors, right? For them, dollar yen is the major currency, and Aussie yen, Kiwi yen, euro yen, sterling yen, CAD yen, the exact same as us, but with the yen, okay, as the terms, because that's what they've got in their pocket. Now, Japan is the biggest trading country in the world. You need to understand the Ichimoku cloud, and also, okay, that these are the major currencies. In the Asian session, you should be paying very close attention to these charts, right? Not just the majors, keep an eye on these ones. In the Asian session, I should actually call this the Asian majors, because this is the key to it. And then if you've gone through the course thoroughly, okay, and this is where you can bring back a bit more connection, as I said, to the market insight, right? So everything I've just gone through, I summarize each day, that whole routine in the market insight. So if you're not sure of my routine or the routine you should be going through, click through all the market insights. You'll work it out very closely. Okay, if I come into the daily analysis, right, once again, I'm looking at the economic numbers that are coming out. I'm trying to isolate for you the specific direction of the currencies. And what we're looking for is the economic fundamental drivers to match up with the technical setup, right? And then you have an overall daily outlook. So I've got the fundamental drivers here, ECB sentiment sideways. We've had no economic data. There's no major geopolitical news impacting. So euro is pretty much trading sideways. Okay, fundamentally. Technically, you can see it's going up short-term wise. It's got a little bit of a little pop. It's only like 30 or 40 points higher. So I've got a short-term bias slightly up. But that's not enough to change my technical outlook to bullish or bearish. So my overall outlook on euro is sideways. right? And that's one of the key things. But what I want you to focus on, because this is where you can start to build on, say, your advanced trading strategies, right? When you go into this, it's gonna make more sense to you now practically, because you go into the advanced trader course, right? You go down into, say, something like the Ichiban strategy. Now, I've just mentioned that dollar yen and the yen crosses are the majors sort of for the Asian session. You need to pay close attention to that. And one thing you can do is, one of the key strategies I would say for everything is the Ichiban strategy. So looking at the Asian session and becoming a better trader, if you have Reuters Zenith, right, you'll have all these templates exactly the same as I have. You will be focusing on this page all the time, right? Now, I just spoke to Mark Hepburn, actually, one of our traders that you'll see in the trade zone. Now, Mark has just started sort of trading, but he's just asking me a question about the Ichiban strategy. He's gone through the courses. Now, we've got a trend line here. This is how easy it is and where the cash is. If you don't methodically go through these charts, you will miss opportunities. Look at this one here. We've got the high here at 89.22. 1, 2, well, 3 touches there. You can almost say one was there touch, but three perfect touches. It also correlates or collides with the top of the cloud. This is the Ichiban strategy in play. This is 9 times out of 10 a winning trade, a winning break trade, right? And you can see it's performed well around the trend line. So you can see traders are focusing on it. It's above the trend line, and then it's almost 75 points higher, if not 80, 90 points. That is a nice, easy trade. Now, how do you find that? Well, it's just about being methodical with your routine. So when you come back to your routine, I would suggest, right, as I said, the first 5 templates here are key to your daily routine. I would also include the yen cross as a part of that. I mean, when I say the yen crosses, like the Asian majors, think of it that way. And then also go through your charts. I mean, you will see here when you're looking at your majors, if there's something very good building on one of the major currencies, well, then that's when you go into your template as well and fine tune that opportunity, right? Isolate it. Don't just look at the Aussie, right? If you just start looking at the Aussie against the dollar, that's one opportunity. Don't forget, you've got Aussie yen. Aussie yen works step for step with the dollar, or the Aussie against the dollar. Then you've got Aussie Kiwi, Euro Aussie, Sterling Aussie. There's a number of opportunities. So when the Aussie data is coming out, think laterally across the market. What's it going to impact? Well, of course, it's going to hit the Aussie against the US dollar. It will also impact Aussie yen, Aussie Kiwi, Euro Aussie, Sterling Aussie. Which of these have the best technical setups? If it's all of them, well, you can diversify your risk and hit them all, right? But generally what you'll find is there's a pretty good technical setup on a couple of them. And what you do is you go through and methodically isolate the top side or downside. So generally, sometimes you will find that, say, Aussie looks good top side, but there's no level here on the top side in Aussie yen. So if the number comes out weak, yeah, sure, Aussie will drop, but the best level is down through this support level, 76.20. But Aussie yen's closer, I'll hit Aussie yen. Okay? Why I can do that is because I've got access to the market, I've got access to these templates, and now I don't have to think too much about anything else except trading the market, okay? Getting my execution correct. Okay, now I hope that explains a lot of the questions around what is the daily routine for the bankers, right? It's the same routine I've been going through for 27 years. It's the same routine the guys at the banks do every time they get to work in the mornings. Now, if you're looking to become a professional trader and actually join our funded trader ranks, well, then do yourself a favor, get onto Reuters Zenith and get yourself set up. Download our templates. You'll be looking at the market and trading with the market. That's what this is all about. Now, if you have any questions, of course, send us an email at info@tradersfortraders.com or join the trading discussion in the 247 Trade Zone. I look forward to guiding you guys through the market and hopefully becoming one of our successful traders through the Funded Trader program. All right, guys, cheerio.